Let me just say that I disagree that the U.S. is too big to ignore. This is Trump's delusion, by the way.
The Europe will become less and less relevant. So we'll have a decline of Europe and a growth of Asia, little by little.
That has been a major instrument of U.S. policy, sanctions.
Do you think it's fair?
No, it's not fair, it's silly.
And I think a positive aspect is that we get away from this automatic policy of anybody who does something wrong, sanctions. They don't work.
The European Union has confirmed tariffs on China's EVs, and Italy voted in favor of that.
That's true.
Why are they so concerned about products from China? So, we want to look at tariffs and sanctions. They're a headache for businesses that hit consumers in their wallet. I went to the panel discussion on U.S. foreign policy and its implications on Asia-Pacific cooperation.
Today, I believe that the goal of tariffs is to prove that President Trump was not wrong.
Tariffs. It'd be good if you can also educate the American.
It's clear this is a topic people want to hear about.
He thinks that the threat of the U.S. market is so overwhelming that it gives vast leverage, that he can threaten everybody, that he can redraw the world geopolitical map by threatening tariffs and sanctions and so forth. This is absurd. And by the way, in a completely different context, this was the American delusion.
And if those tariffs and sanctions continue, where is the world going?
We're not going to see the disappearance of the U.S. either, but we are not going to see the U.S. being the driving force of change, rules, principles, and organization for many years.
10 years ago, they're very aggressive against China. Europe followed. Sanctions against technology, chips. What has been the result of sanctions? China has become a major technology power, right? So these sanctions have unintended consequences. China today is probably the world's greatest manufacturing superpower. Of course, these sanctions were intended to have a separate goal. Banking sanctions, these things they're automatic, they're inertia. Anything happens, sanctions. Banking sanctions against Russia. What has been the impact? Well, we can't use dollars anymore. And then we complain about countries are moving away from dollars.
That trend has already begun, according to some experts, notably with the shift away from the primacy of the dollar.
We're witnessing, the experts tell us, a shift towards non-traditional currencies, baskets of currencies such as the euro and the yen, and of course the renminbi. In 2023, you may know, for the first time, more than 50% of Chinese exports, those exports are conducted in renminbi, not in the US dollar system. And China is building currency swap measures, the accumulation of gold, the first state-backed e-currency. The United States doesn't have such a policy. Why is this significant? I expect that there is no imminent collapse of the United States. Please don't misunderstand me. I think more likely we are going to see a further decline with fits and starts, perhaps ending in the Hemingway way. At first slow, and then suddenly collapse happens. Of the kind, here's the historical analogy, last remark, that Britain suffered between the end of World War I and 1945. You may know that the pound sterling was, of course, the currency that underpinned the whole British Empire, the largest globally. But it was in the 1920s, 1927, the pound Britain defaulted on debt, and the rest is history in that the US dollar became the global currency thereafter. I think we're witnessing its disintegration.
And then, one of the big questions of the moment, Are the drastic policy changes coming from the Trump White House affecting how Europe deals with Asia and China?
It should, but naturally we should think, or if the US is now against us, let's look for friends somewhere else.
You were with the Italian Ministry of Economic Development. So what's your take on these restrictions on the economic grounds? Will it slow Europe down?
Further, because Europe already has serious problems of economic growth. We don't have EV industry, we don't have a semiconductor, we don't have a mobile phone industry, we don't make solar panels, wind turbines to the extent that we need for this green transition. We don't have a source of energy, we don't have gas, we don't have oil, so we are stuck in a world that we are relatively wealthy because we benefit from our growth in the 1960s and 1970s, so the population still does not feel the decline that will be coming in the next 5 to 10 years.
What are suggestions for cooperation between Europe and Asia in this changing world?
Join again the Belt and Road, join the New Development Bank, and be part of this development, of this new, let's call it Global South. We cannot just watch it and say they are bad, we should join.
But from some quarters, all we are seeing is more restrictions. Just this week, the US blacklisted more than 50 companies from China to restrict the country's growing AI capabilities. And Trump said he's planning more tariffs on April 2nd.
What should China do? Certainly carry on underpinning, protecting the renminbi in global affairs.
Please get on with the things that you need to do, which is development, energy transformation, climate action, technology advance. It'll be fine, believe me.
There are a lot of ideas and strong views for the future of Asia in this changing world. But as the theme of this year's Blowout Forum for Asia suggests, that future will be built through connections.